Around Easter 2010, the then Federal Minister for Education, Julia Gillard, initiated a review of school funding to develop a funding system which is transparent, fair, sustainable and effective in promoting excellent educational outcomes for all Australian students. It became known as the Gonski Review. By Christmas 2011, the Commonwealth Government had received the Gonski report. Now here we are, at Easter 3 years later, and still there is no resolution of funding issues for our Catholic schools in the Diocese of Parramatta and beyond. In fact, things are more uncertain than ever. In 2012, the State Government of New South Wales capped both recurrent and capital spending on Catholic schools for the next few years. We will go backwards in real terms. Catholic schools stand to lose $3 in federal funding for every dollar already cut from state funding. This could be disastrous for our schools and therefore for our students. Catholic schools had already had to learn to live on only 90% of the annual income of government schools, when all sources of funding, federal grants, state grants, school fees, parish and diocesan contributions and local fundraising are taken into account. Further cuts will be very hard to sustain. The funding uncertainty for our Parramatta system of Catholic schools has been drawn out now for years. I believe it's time for our Commonwealth and state governments to reduce the anxiety this is causing amongst our families and schools, and to allow systems like ours to plan for the future. All agree that this funding should be directed to systems so as to reduce the administrative burden on schools and allow local systems, such as Parramatta's, to ensure equitable distribution according to need, and to plan for the future, including, in fast-growing Western Sydney, planning for new or growing schools. We understand families are struggling financially, and we are doing our best to minimise the impacts of funding cuts and uncertainty on school fees and on teaching and learning in the classroom. The Gonski Review recommended $6.5 billion in increased spending on education if we are to achieve world standard educational outcomes for our young people. Our Commonwealth and New South Wales state governments welcomed the report. But for all the rhetoric, less, not more, has so far been delivered by way of funding. They need to reach an agreement, and soon. I will continue to lobby our Prime Minister, Premier, Education Ministers and opposition parties on these matters on your behalf. I ask you to support me by doing likewise and voicing your concerns on this critical issue.